So you understand what we're trying to do here. We're trying to accelerate what you're going to do, and just so that you don't make any mistakes that I've already been through so many times creating a lot of content, and have clear frameworks of how you're going to approach things. Often the most common problem is that when people create content, they always come up with a new idea, and then it needs to start from the beginning, and you're reinventing the wheel, and then you finish it, and then you again start to reinventing the wheel and never actually get to progress. So what we want to do is like that you don't think, that it's like very clear and all connects to goals, to your audience, and it's not random, just like, hey, I have an idea, let's do it, but then like it doesn't really connect to anything that we're doing. So that's what the first part is, me just like giving you a little bit of understanding of the way I see social media and how it works. And then the second part is we're actually going to apply that to your personal brand. And then we can audit all together, roast Michael and Michael's content, and then we can actually make a plan what we're going to do, and so on and so forth. Right. Oh, okay, this is what it works. So yeah. As I said, that's the introduction. Then we will look at the formulas. I've done quite a lot of content, and it's all formulas. Like I already understood what is the things that work and why they work, and I have even repeated those things, and you will see that these kind of things work, and now we can reapply that to you. Then, yeah, as I said, we're going to do the audit. We're going to do an interactive session of your whole strategy, and then we wrap it up. So, and by the way, you can just like interrupt me all the time and drop in anything you want to say. So, I guess we went through that, right? Let me know if there's anything missing, but it's really understanding what drives virality. I give you the frameworks. I give you a clarity on what is good viral, what is bad viral, and then you walk away with concrete ideas that you then, as a next step, execute. So it's not only like you gain knowledge, but you have a plan. That's the whole. Yeah.
Real quick on top of this, because I think this is very good. There's the execution part. So ideas are a dime a dozen, right?
Exactly.
But I'm also very interested in how guys like you execute again and again consistently. So
okay.
Like maybe tactical frameworks.
Yeah.
To learn.
I guess like that's something that we can cover also in the Q&A, that you also know, like how do we script things, for example, because I think you guys don't really need much of like understanding of how to do camera work or edit. That's the part that you know. What you need to understand is how to find the ideas and how to turn them and translate them in social media, and then actually do it, right? So yeah, totally. So it's going to be interactive. So I want us to be really like participating and throwing in ideas. Joanna is writing everything down as well. So we'll later have like a mirror board, and we all like everything you say, we're going to visualize and we're going to put it together. So yeah, don't want to spend too much time here. Okay. So first question, like one thing that you guys said, hey, or you, Michael, mentioned specifically, we want views, we want virality. That's like one of the most important things that we want to get. Question to all of you, that's the interactive part we already start. What means virality for you? What is viral actually? Like if I would say, can you define what is viral? What would you say?
A viral video is one that people share. That's like the whole idea of it being viral, right? It's constantly growing, people are sharing it, eyes are being drawn to it.
Okay, if you would quantify that, what would that mean? If one person shares, it's probably not viral, right?
Exactly. So over a large scheme of things, I don't know.
It's okay, take time.
I feel like it depends on the industry and also like scope, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, because previously in my niche, it's quite small.
Right.
So something viral might be like tens of thousands of views.
Right.
That's like the whole niche. Like
right.
You've saturated everything. Whereas I feel like for example, if you're on TikTok, like viral's like millions of views.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Instagram, for some reason, it's more like hundreds of thousands. I feel like is viral. You might get a couple millions, but I feel like it's not as like TikTok has higher numbers overall.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you, Michael? What do you consider viral? When or yeah.
I think you have to understand your niche, because 1,000 could be viral.
Right.
1,000 views, or 100,000, or 1,000,000. So it's relative to how big your audience is. But basically, I would say like an over 10x what the normal views are.
Okay. Yeah.
Like that.
So here's what, like, the thing is, there's actually no real definition of viral, right? That's why everyone understands something different on it. And when you work with clients, often, like, I heard people like, oh, we want a viral video. And I'm like, so what do you mean? And they're like, yeah, 20,000 views. I'm like, oh, yeah, no problem. I can do that. So like it's, but when you really think about viral, what I think viral means is when you go way beyond your audience, especially when you have more non-followers seeing your content than followers. More people that don't know you rather than know you. That's why whether it's 1,000, if you have no followers at all and you get thousands of views, right? It's already way below what you're having. But if you have also, I don't know, 100,000 followers, but you only get 10,000 views, does it feel like viral? Probably not. So it's like, can you go way beyond of what your typical range or your followers are and reach people that wouldn't have seen you at all, right? So, but then the question is, like, that is kind of like what I believe is when we reach beyond our follower base and we attract also the right audience. The next question is, as this was like one of the things that you mentioned, yeah, we want to improve views, we want to go viral. What do you, there's different things you can go viral for, right? And by the way, I'm going to send this to you, so you don't need to worry or type anything. So you can go viral. I can now take off my clothes and then run through Taipei, and tomorrow I'm going to be viral, especially when I drink water in the MRT, right? Will this benefit me anyhow? Who will I really attract through that? Doesn't really matter, right? So you say it's really about your niche or whatever. Or you can make a banger video about marketing skills, and 2 videos could be viral, but I guess the value of virality in those 2 videos will be completely different. So I guess we can agree there's some good viral and bad viral, and it really depends on what your goals are, right? So if you say, my goal is to show people that I know social media and I want to create content that reaches a lot of people, but I don't care whether these people transform into clients because it is social proof, great. Then you can do these creative things. Then it aligns with our goals. If you say, I want to generate clients from that, but that will not generate any clients worthy views, then it's a bad viral, right? So my question is, besides that is virality should support your goals, leads, or create trust, what is that you want to go viral for? So when,
Question?
yes,
Oh, okay.
Go to the next slide.
that's why, yeah, exactly. So what do you want to go viral for? What do you consider, like when you said, hey, I want to do that, you probably don't want to go viral for anything random. So what would it be? What would be the ideal viral result, I would say? What it, like, either Michael, you can start, and maybe girls, you can throw in stuff. You don't need to go one by one, raise your hand or something like that.
I think I had this insight that as a freelancer, I could transition into an agency, make a living to the point of becoming financially independent, and have an amazing lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that no one has ever talked about. I did 2 years of business school.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side of that, it's a super creative job. And I think in the end, humans are happiest when they're doing something creative. And so I kind of have this urge to share this message to the world because no one talks about it. I know a lot of freelancers I know a lot of marketing professionals, freelancers struggle with burnout and chasing clients. Marketing professionals struggle with the 9 to 5 and the cubicle. But this is like a kind of a happy medium, although it's not an easy business. I feel like part of me wants to just be like, hey guys, everyone can start a boutique agency and get the best of both worlds and make money. And I don't really want to be a course bro, but I feel like I can help people. I can get clients, and the last one is I can share a unique message, like just through doing this for 6 years. Like I can share my unique insights. And so I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for, but that's kind of like my messy thought process.
Okay, so if I would look at that, then one is an inspirational goal, which is like I want to inspire more people to do what they want and go out of their job and do maybe something that they're afraid of. But here's the thing. The question that I always ask myself, who do you attract with the content, right? This could be content that are people currently stuck in the job and they want a life like you, right? But this probably are not the people that are going to be your clients, right? Because your clients are already here, they're founders, and they have a completely different goal. So that's why we really need to understand who we are talking to and what we build our personal brand around. Because if you start being that guy and you're gonna go and try to get as many views as possible talking about helping these guys, it's not gonna be very interesting for these guys, right? So that's what we wanna understand. And by the way, when you work with clients, like it's always needs to be related back to their goals. You have business goals, then you have marketing goals, and then you have content goals. And the content goals pretty much lead back to whatever your KPIs. So from your business goals, what you mentioned in the questionnaire, you want to expand your client, 2 more clients 10K, 2 more clients 5K, and 3.5K. So you want to increase those clients that pay you a retainer. That would be your business goals, right? Now the question is, what are the content goals to get to there? You said most in the questionnaire also, you said most of the people engage with you through LinkedIn DM comments, right? So this is probably the platform where they're gonna actually be like, oh, I wanna engage with him professionally. But then you have other platforms where you probably want to showcase your creativity and not only document your process, but like, hey, how to, like, I don't know, we turned this client into, I don't know, viral framework and did this, and you can share that on LinkedIn. That way you, for example, talk about the stuff that you achieved attracting the founders. So that's why we need to be very clear on like, who are we talking to and what are our goals? Because if you would say to me, I want to talk about this, then I would challenge you and like, does it really connect to the goals? Then most probably not. And then we'll be like, okay, let's rework that, right? So, sorry, tell me.
Yeah, I think now is a good time to show him the mirror board that we prepared.
Or I would probably go through all the stuff because we're gonna go back to that in our session where we actually start working on the stuff with you. But first I want you to understand all the stuff, right? So anything that we do needs to be related to our business goals. And the same, if you work with somebody, you will always ask them, what is the business goal? And if they tell you, I have a crazy idea, we should do this. And you're like, okay, does it actually help? If not, so nobody can blame you for being like, yeah, but why doesn't work? That's what clients usually do. Then when it comes to going viral, then obviously you always hear, oh, the algorithm, you need to understand the algorithm. I love to exchange the algorithm with people, right? Algorithm is nothing else than people sitting and interacting with your stuff. If you think about any platform, it doesn't matter whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Instagram, or whether it's YouTube, what do they care about? They care about selling more ads. The way they sell more ads is by having people be hooked to the phone longer. So if your content can hook people longer to the phone, then they will make more money, and then they're more interested to show your video to more people. That is as simple as it gets regarding the algorithm. So it's all about, can you get more interaction from what you are posting? If yes, more people will see it. So there's pretty much, if you think about carousels, it's about, are people swiping till the end? If it's about LinkedIn, is the first sentence triggering them to click see more and spend longer time on the post? If it's about YouTube, it's about, are people clicking in? And pretty much every single platform has their own way of measuring interaction. But it's really about people. So that means we need to really understand who we are talking to. Because if I talk about Taipei, but you're living in Uganda, then nobody cares about Taipei, right? So I need to understand my content is the actual targeting. So if you're talking to founders, or that's your clients, but you're calling out freelancers, then your content's gonna attract freelancers. So you need to understand who you're talking to and make it as relevant as possible to your audience. I give you an example that just happened to me right now while I was here. I did a short video about like, hey, here like some 4 crazy things that are happening that are in Taipei that we don't have in the West, right? I talked about like breastfeeding room, and the metro being like standing in the lines and all that stuff. Who interacted with that the most? What do you think? Exactly, right? It's not people in the West being like, oh, this is so interesting. It's Taiwanese because it's relevant to them. If they're like, if you live in Taipei and you see a foreigner talking about like, hey, look at this in Taipei, you're like, oh, that's me. I live here. I recognize that. It is relevant to me, right? So you want to think about, how can I create as much relevancy as possible? And if you know who you're talking to, it doesn't actually matter who your followers are. Actually, most of my content that I create is not seen by my followers. Only 3 to 5%. Rest is 95% non-followers. And that also means that I can create a piece of content that is targeting founders or marketers, and that piece of content will reach them if I do it right. The question then is, if they go on my page and I don't consistently talk about this, they will not follow me, right? But the content itself, any piece of content, can target anyone. It's like free paid ads at this point. So yeah, this is just the Taipei example where I posted the video. This is 95% non-followers. And most of the content is like this. Followers at this point actually don't matter. Followers have become a vanity metric, and the only thing who cares about followers is brands that look for social proof. Your followers is kind of really like, hey, I can trust this guy, rather than, or he knows what he's talking about, rather than I'm actually reaching my followers all the time with every single post that I do. So that's basically the key takeaway. Your topic and angle determine who sees that. So the platform will show it to the most relevant because they're interested in getting more ads served to the people. So they will find the people who is most relevant to. So that's why you often would call out people, right? Instead of like starting, hey, today I'm going to talk about this, but you would call out a direct pain point. So that leads us to the next question. If we know that the content itself is the targeting, then who are we targeting with our content and who we want the content to be seen by? That is now the question. I mean, an actual question, not a rhetoric one.
Yeah, so in this business, it's never been an 80-20 obvious thing with the clients. It's like 60-40, few clients in the tech space who pay a lot, more clients in personal branding who pay less, and then it fluctuates back and forth. And then we do have this sort of internal battle about who we should target on either side. I do see an opportunity to do more founder personal branding, and I think that's a more scalable business model. So I think in this case, it would be founders who are not afraid to put themselves out there on social media.
Okay, so that would be our ideal audience, right? And then probably the next question would be, where do these people spend most of their time at, and what do they spend their time with? Because like, think about it this way, every platform has their own purpose. You go on YouTube when you're like going to bed and watch something long, right? When you're gonna eat a long time. You go into Instagram when you go to the toilet, or you go to TikTok when you need a micro entertainment. So you want to understand how you use every channel, that it fits the narrative. Founders is not a big audience, right? There is like only so few, and then especially if you focus even English speakers in Taiwan, or even like in any of UK or US that you mentioned, it's a very niche audience. And also what you want to do and think about is, instead of just talking about personal brand, you want to live by it, right? So you don't want to be the guy that gets no views by talking about how you should have a personal brand. So you want to have actual proof, and then you could use as the backlog to talk to the founders. But pretty much similar what happened right now. I don't talk about learning, like teaching content. I do content, and then most of the times people reach out and be like, hey, I want to do stuff like that, right? So you don't necessarily need to only talk about founders, or that could be your LinkedIn strategy. But when it comes to any other platforms, you can be broader and thinking out of the box, and maybe talk about tech, right? Attracting those people to see your content, and then giving them, by the way, we can actually help you to do the same, right? So that's something that I want to put out there. So like, if founders would be our primary audience, what could be our secondary audience?
Typically, it would be the people that work closely with founders, like their number 2 people or like leadership team.
Right. So, and then we could think about what could, by the way, I don't know if there's like anything with the camera, if it's okay.
Run out of battery.
But we have this here as well, so don't worry. So yeah, and then you would think about,
Do we have another memory card? Or we can get a version of this one?
yeah.
Alright, we should shoot that one.
Yeah. So secondary audience, leadership team, and or whatever, assistants or people that work there and they're in this niche. So what we could think about is like, there's founders, they have a specific industry, and they are in this industry, and they are thinking about, I don't know, like for entertainment purposes, they go and check out different products, right? What we're all interested in. What we can identify is what could be these topics that we could make entertaining content about, that is a broader audience, where we can generate more traffic and be relevant to more people, and have a channel, for example, on LinkedIn that shows how did we make this go viral, right? Or how case studies, proof. Because there you just need to reach those specific people, and you can reach them by connecting to them, and they will see your content. So we'll have that interactive session, right? So from there, we go and we will create some personas with pain points, demographics, psychographics, what are the needs and goals. And why do we do that is because we want our content to be the intersection of your personal values, beliefs, and things that you do with the needs and goals of these people and pain points. Because if we know the pain point, then we can call it out right away in the content, or we can make a whole series of the content itself. So then what I want to talk about right now is metrics. What metrics actually matter and what we should focus on, and how can we interpret these metrics so to improve our content. You obviously, on any platform, it is the same thing. that is called, you can call it the skip rate, you can call it the hook rate, you can call it anything. But when we create content, the most of the times, the first, like, and especially in short form content, the first 3 seconds is what matters the most, right? And it's impossible that everyone's gonna love your content and watch it, but this is gonna decide pretty much everything. And most of the times, this can be, the higher it is, the worse it is for us. That means more people dropping off. So even though our content might be great messaging and really the most important lesson, and you're like, what the hell? This part might, like, people might drop off like 80%. So that means that not your content is bad, but maybe your beginning is bad. So what I do often, I have at least like 5 different hooks that I test because I don't know what's gonna work. But don't give up on an idea only because it didn't perform. It's really always about understanding why it didn't perform. No matter whether you work with clients or whatever, because it's never gonna work all the time. But what you wanna do is why it didn't work. So skip rate is one of the most important things. And we're gonna also look what are the best practices to actually improve that. But when you guys post content, do you experiment with different hooks? Or you most of the times give it a shot and then you move on to the next idea?
Yeah, we don't experiment so much as we try to engineer the hook.
Mm-hmm.
But to experiment with different hooks, we wouldn't. I do want to develop a process for that, which is either going to be on the filming side or on the editing side.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'd be curious on how you do it.
So I do it already beforehand. Like most of the times when we brainstorm about ideas, we look at what could be the hook, and I often cannot decide. So I just try all of them. And hook could be sometimes the hook what I say, but it could be also just the title above. And oftentimes I could target different people with different titles. It could be the same thing that I say, but I could be like, if you're in your 30s, you need to watch that, right? And then I target you. And then if you're in your 20s, I target someone else. But the content is the same, right? So one thing that is really, there's a couple of strategies that you can use. One is trial reels. Like if you post on Instagram, you know that you can actually try out different content that is not seen by your audience. Have you tried that? Or have you ever seen that?
I have.
Perfect, right? So one is trial reels. And one is also TikTok in itself is a platform where nobody really cares about your followers. Actually, if you like scroll, you will notice there's nobody that you follow. Even if you unfollow people, you still see their content, especially when you hate them because you interact with their content, right? So like TikTok is a great dumping ground for ideas. And especially because it's raw, imagine you are like, hey, I can't decide, there's like 5 ideas that I have. You could literally take the phone, say all 5 ideas one another, and see which of the hooks or which of the content resonates the most with people. And then from there, you can be like, okay, that is what people reacted to the most. Now I can turn it into a proper video where we actually start producing it, right? So TikTok becomes like this like brainstorm dumping ground that you throw anything you want at the wall and you see what sticks. And from there you can start developing and be like, hey, we already know what's gonna work. So now we're gonna start making content about that. That's something that you also can offer either to clients or whatever, where you maybe think about, you know, making a whole story about it, but start first with like, just like talking and just see what is the first reaction. Usually people before would spend a lot of money on paid ads. So they would like put $5 in so many different pieces of content to just see which got the most likes and be like, now we're gonna post that. But on TikTok, you can just create a fake account and just like dump anything you want there and you will have an immediate market reaction.
But what you're talking about is producing content twice, right? The first time is like one round of experimental ideas.
Exactly.
And then you go back and shoot whatever worked. So
yeah.
This actually becomes too, in our case, like we calculate projects through production days.
Yeah.
Because then we need our whole crew to come out. So maybe what you're talking about is doing it like real cheap and dirty with just maybe one camera and me holding it, or
with your phone.
Or just a phone, right? Yeah. And then
That's it. Like, because if you think about even clients, you could engineer a whole thing and be like, we're going to produce, put a lot of money behind that. And then we're like, oh, it didn't work. I'm sorry. Right? Or guys, you can pay a little bit more. We can experiment on like very low effort style and be like, let's see what's going to work. And then we're actually going to start putting effort into that paid media.
So I have a question. So I know that like TikTok works better with the phone content that's like raw and
Yeah.
edited, and then you can do math on that. But my understanding is that Instagram actually prefers more refined content. So like if it works on, so for example, if we dump 5 ideas on TikTok, we find the one that hits, we bring it back to Instagram. But because it's sort of that like raw, like unedited footage, it doesn't do well. Like what do we do?
Oh, that's exactly what I mean. Before you bring it, so you can treat as a super low effort like TikTok to just validate your idea, which means you don't put any effort. I could put my camera, just speak, and that's it. That will take me 1 minute, right? And then I see what the market reaction is, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Out of those 10 topics, there's like these 2 topics where people start engaging with, and they give you some more insights in their comments, and you're like, now I'm gonna turn it into more like highly edited vid. Exactly. Before you go into something, or you're like, now that's worth turning into something. Because at the end of the day, it's all about retention rate, right? And the idea, if people react to that, that means we have proof of concept, and now we can go and put the effort into that and turn it into an ad on Super Bowl, right? Because we already know it's working on the low effort side. So that is also part where, you just dump anything and then you'll be like, you know what, that was great. Maybe I can write a LinkedIn piece about that because people react to that. This triggers emotion. That's what you want to find out, right?
How do you apply this to your channel? Are you systematically doing this, or at this point you have a sense for what might work?
Yeah, because I know exactly my format, which took me some time. I do that, but for example, I also created a fake TikTok channel where I would just drop anything, and I wouldn't care if I do the same idea 15 times until I figure out what actually worked and why.
What do you mean by fake? Like you don't use your name?
Oh, it's just like, it's not like my official, when you Google me that you find me, right. It's just like, I called it It's Travel Mark. And then I would just like walk around, talk, and be like, if something works, I'm like, oh, interesting. Maybe I can turn this into something bigger, right? Oh, okay. Or maybe you are like, I don't know what I should do it. And you can just quickly drop it in there and then see what's going on. I had, for example, this problem where I thought that all my content needs to be polished and highly edited. And I was afraid like to put it on my content. I was like, what's going to be to my feed? Absolutely irrational fears. And then I created this fake TikTok to kind of prove to myself, does it need to be so polished? And then at the end, that performed better.
Well, what's the sign that you should reproduce that? Is it because you have, what's the threshold of views where you're like, yes, that worked?
If it's going, if I see that the skip rate is good, then I know it's a great hook. I can actually show you directly if you want.
Yeah, we actually don't know much about you. We just learned about you like a day ago, so it's really good to learn kind of like about your channel and your stuff.
Oh yeah, I'll have a whole section about this, but I quickly want to demonstrate this to you. So, this is my channel where I do like, where I used to do a lot of stuff, right? And that's what brands would see. They're like, oh, you have a lot of followers, we want to work with you or whatever. But they wouldn't understand that every single piece of content is completely separate identity, and it could work or could not. Followers really don't matter. So I was like, oh, you know what? Because they follow me for a specific style that is like very storytelling and maybe like highly edited, I would just want to have a look what could work out there. So I created this channel that completely random, right? Like there's no my name, just travel mark, whatever. And then I would be like, okay, I want to understand why certain things work or not, and I'm going to try it multiple times. And that's why you see often like I get a clear example. You see like the same video, pretty much, with just different titles. Let me give you an example where I was like, okay, here, these two videos are exactly the same.
51K and
Is China living in the future? The simple answer is yes, but the real answer is why. So right now I'm in a Chinese mall. Right. You see, I wrote why China lives in the future, and I would start the video like this. And then the same video here has only 1,000 views. It's not why China is living in the future. It's not why China is living in the future. It's not why China is living. So I started it a little bit earlier or later, just so I really want to get you the idea rather than like make you watch the whole video. But like, I noticed like I started with one sentence and it didn't work. I was like, what if I cut out that sentence? Maybe it's not relevant. I was like, bam, 50,000 views. So that's how I'm like, let me experiment and see like, sometimes that's exactly what I said. It's just not, it's like this little sentence gonna change everything, or it's the title. So I'll just like drop anything there, and then like videos where I put like effort and I'm like highly cinematic or whatever, right? Don't perform at all, right? So like, 28 years old, I live in the city center of London. You know, a lot of B-roll, a lot of like stuff, music, everything, 200 views. And that's like what I mean. Don't kind of like think about, because in my eyes I thought, wow, that's like just amazing. And then I put it out and it doesn't work. And I realized, why do I spend 8 hours editing a video and then be like, hey, nobody cares, right? So I rather grab my phone, tell something, see if it works, see which sentence do I need to apply. And now I could do the same video here and be like walking in with great camera quality and be like, why is China living in the future? Let's go, right? And then do exactly that script, but more like highly produced. So you really want to use the platform as a kind of experimental ground. I talked about this in my other presentation. Here you see there's like two videos. One is 400 views and one is 136,000 views. Exactly the same video.
Is it?
Yeah.
Exactly the same?
Yeah. Like you. So I was like making fun of like Bali Belly, but this is the same video. So what was the difference is I went into the analytics. I found out that one video, like I posted when I was in Bali, and nobody really like interacted with that because it's Indonesians that I reached. And Indonesians cannot relate to me having stomach ache from eating their food, right? So like, I was like, wait a sec. That's why the video didn't work. So I researched, I like, who is the most visitor, who visits Bali the most? Australians. So I put VPN on Australia, re-uploaded, and then you see like, people like, oh, I've eaten street food there, I've been probably 10 times, never had a problem, whatever.
So the VPN hack actually works, because I've read it doesn't work.
Yes, it works. So like you can actually, it's very simple. You can test it. The only thing is you can probably test it on TikTok only because TikTok shows you the location where people actually like interacted with. Instagram doesn't show the location of the interaction if you post a reel, but I mean, I tested it and it clearly works. So this is kind of like the thing that you want to, that's why it's so important what I mentioned, target audience, is if I know it didn't reach the right audience, that's why it didn't work. So am I reaching to the right audience? That's the real question. But to get back to the presentation, yes, you can use this to just validate, test, and be like, what you say in engineering, but engineering by doing, right? And it doesn't cost you a lot of time to just cut out the first sentence or rearrange or make it shorter. So you always go back into analytics and validate.
When you are doing the validation stage, how much time do you edit? Or are you just doing it
raw?
raw?
I just do it in like a minute.
Okay.
I would just like have something in my mind. I would put it out.
Do you even cut things, or you just shoot it, captions, and done?
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much that. I cut, there's like either on CapCut or on even on Instagram itself, there's like a function that it cuts out filler words. So you can you can edit through transcripts. So that means like if I say something and even if I'm thinking a little bit, it'll just like automatically cuts out all that stuff. So that's how I felt that. By the way, that video about Bali, that gained like 15 million views on Instagram. And that was just like me testing. I was like, I didn't even plan to put it out. I was like, oh, it's getting so much traction on trial reels. Let me just put it out, and it just completely exploded. So yeah, that's why I'm a big believer of you actually never know what's working until you post it. And that's why I wouldn't be like, hey, let's sit there and like try to figure out what is the perfect hook. Let's just try multiple things and see whether it's working or not. Let's do it high professionally, let's do it not professionally. But at the end, until you post, you just don't know. Then obviously you have the average watch time. That's the most important. And that's the rest of the video. And usually the common mistakes that people do here is if the hook is already good and you give the payoff way too early, and then people just stop watching it because you already shared that. So for example, I say to you, let me share with you how much it cost to go on a date in Taipei, right? And then in the middle of the video, I'm like, so the whole date cost $100, and let me tell you my opinion. So I believe nobody cares, right? So like everyone dropped off, and I'm like, this video is shit. But the video is not bad. It's just like, if you notice that the people drop here, you cut the video or you rearrange that. So that's how you want to approach the metrics. But in general, what people say is like, then the number one is the skip rate. The number two is the average watch time. And then like and shares are the most important things. Ideally shares. Shares is like really the most important thing anywhere. Reposts and whatsoever. Except of when you look at TikTok or YouTube Shorts, there's not really a lot of mechanism to share these things. So watch time will be the most important thing. Skip rate and watch time. Yeah, and that's just the last part. And now, yeah, I mean, you know, for example, Darius, you just said, you know, TikTok is a little bit more highly edited. Oh, sorry, Instagram is more highly edited. I would like almost to us to take our Instagram, go through our feed, and see if that is actually true, right? And also, like, you will realize if I go to my like Instagram feed, you will see like, or I'll just show it here. I don't follow him, right? This guy is laying in a bathtub and there's no color. So like, I wouldn't call this highly edited. I don't follow this guy. I don't follow this girl, right? I literally don't follow this guy. You see that all of the content is actually has nothing to do who I follow, and it more has to do with what I'm interested in. For example, how to deal with my huge ego. But like, obviously I'm joking. But like, you will see that. Do you think that is highly edited?
This one's not, yeah.
This is like not even like vertical, right? Like if you go through, that's an ad. But if you go through, everyone has a different feed. And if you look at that for real, there's not really like highly edited, like anything. Like that's why I mean, like a lot of people, that's what I find funny. When I work with brands, oftentimes they're like, can you share your audience with us? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, okay, but like, you don't have really a lot of followers that are our audience. I'm like, why don't you go on your social media and see how many people you actually see that you follow? You see nobody. It's not about followers, right? And it's actually also not about highly edited, and all these kind of things are just things that kind of are rumors. But in reality, that's what I mean. Like when I post stuff on TikTok, it's like, I think that I need to be highly edited and people love me only if I have subtitles in the back of my head, like graphically edited. But in reality, it's just like, you just need to test. So Instagram is not a highly edited platform whatsoever. It's really how you treat it and who you're going to talk to. Like, I'm pretty sure if you scroll through your stuff, you will not see anyone who you follow, and you will also not see necessarily some highly edited stuff. And that becomes like a very funny thing that we say to ourselves, we need to edit it a certain way, but then we actually never consume that content that we produce. We consume some like random stuff that has actually nothing to do with what we want to produce. And that kind of like shows us that it's actually all in your head, basically, right? So that's kind of like what I wanted to show with this experiment.
Just to remind you, you have 20 more minutes left.
Yeah.
of the session.
So, and now really, really important, if we know what relevance is and how important it is to the target audience, then you also need to understand that when we scroll on YouTube, right, we make a decision. We see a lot of like different thumbnails. We're like, okay, you know what, 5 consumer trends that will define 2026. Great, that's something that I'm interested in. I click in and I watch the video. That is a decision-making process. That is see and click, right? On TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, any short-form platform, or even LinkedIn, you are scrolling vertically. So you don't make decisions in terms of like what, you don't have a choice. It's just pushed upon you, right? So you need to make decision in the first 3 seconds, deciding, is it something that I'm gonna watch or not? Kind of like scrolling through thumbnails on YouTube. So if this is what's gonna influence your decision, a visual and a title, that's exactly the same when you do short form content. So oftentimes I see content that is like, has no title and it's just like random. And if I see the first 3 seconds, I just don't understand why I should watch it or why it's relevant to me. So you need to treat the first 3 seconds basically like your thumbnail. Anything you do. That's why in most of my videos, or like actually all of the videos, I have a title above in the first 3 seconds that explains exactly why you should watch it or drives some curiosity. So that is important if we're gonna start auditing some of the content, either yours or even if you want to look at something of your client, then we can look, is that actually happening, right? So yeah, the thumbnail and title on YouTube is the equivalent of our 3-second intro of any short platform, short video platform, or even like any vertical feed. Like LinkedIn, it's your first sentence, right? It's your title. So now we go into, okay, great, cool information, Mark, but how do we actually find viral ideas and how do we find ideas that are connecting to our target audience? Where do you look for these things? And then we have a whole list of stuff, but before we go through that, I'll tell you some of my validating questions that we also going to use when we look at your content or any content that you're going to do in the future. Number one that I mention a lot, is it relevant to our audience? Does it attract the right people who we care about, what you are sharing, right? So if it's founders, then it needs to call out these people because you want to filter through that, you know, to attract this. Does it provide value? Not only does it provide value, but like if in one sentence, what is the person going to walk away with that after watching that video? But also, is the value shared in the very end? Which leads to the next question, is there a reason to watch till the end, right? Yes, you can have a great hook, but does it maintain engagement until the very end? Is the payoff there? Shareability, does it create content compelling enough for people to share with others? Which sounds like quite obvious, but you also need to think, who will share that? Very, very important. And one of the things that I found out that what I think who will share that is always the opposite who will share that. So people usually share stuff if you are speaking on their behalf. They share a message because that's what they believe in, or they see this in somebody else. Like I did this video about Taiwan. just like recently, I had like 700 people sharing that in their stories. Why? Well, it's not Western people sharing that. It's Taiwanese people that live abroad and be like, you know what? Our metro is much better than yours. I'm proud, right? So like they use me as speaking on their behalf. I did a video about Egypt where I was like, what most people think Egypt is. And it's like pyramids. And then a time lapse of the most amazing things. Completely went viral. Why? Because Egyptians were like, yes, you don't understand what Egypt is. This is what Egypt. So they share it because they believe in that. So if you can speak on somebody's behalf, that's when people are gonna share you. And that's something that you wanna keep in mind. Question, does it inspire any action? What's the next step? That's like so often it is missed because I think about content like this. It's traffic. It's just traffic, right? You scroll, you capture their attention. Where does it lead? What is the next step? Does it lead to your website? Does it lead to sign up form? Is there a freebie? Is there anything? Is there a call to action? Because I've done this thing in the past where I would constantly share cool stuff, get millions of views, and I would feel sad. Why? Because I'm not profiting from that. So that is the most important part. And now creative insight. And that is actually the most important part. Where I say give you an example. Tourism board invites me here. Mark, create content about Taiwan. And I start being like, okay, what do I do? What content do I do? And what I always look for is creative insight. Where I say, for example, what is something that people know? Like what is something familiar, but it unveils something unfamiliar, right? So for example, bubble tea. Everyone in the West loves bubble tea, but probably nobody knows that it's from Taiwan. And how did it actually become so popular? So that it would be a creative insight. Oh, something unfamiliar, familiar for everyone, but really unfamiliar of when you look at what's behind. And you constantly want to hunt for creative insights. So that's how you validate an idea.
When you want to go into something during the ideation process, how many of those are you trying to hit, or are you trying to hit all of them?
I want to, usually it starts with a creative insight, what I know, and then I will just try to analyze why would that actually be relevant to people. So then you, for example, when it comes to retention, that is a thing that you structure in your hook. I have a couple of examples for that, where I would, or to give you a direct example, I can share one video with you that was doing all of that. Actually, I go back. I was on a Jewish wedding and I wanted to do a video about that. Now, first, what I need to come up with creative insight. Why would people care about Jewish wedding? If I say to you, hey guys, today I'm going to show you a Jewish wedding, who cares, right? So I need to find a creative insight, which is again, connecting something familiar with and make it unfamiliar. So what most if you look at most American movies or whatever, there's Jewish weddings, there's this classic ceremony where they break the glass and everyone's like, yay, right? So that was my creative insight. I'm going to talk about this. Why do Jews break a glass when they marry? That was your hook. That was my hook, right? So that was me starting with this insight. Now I created a curiosity gap. You're like, I kind of know that, but I actually don't know why. So I want to find out. And then I would in order to explain it to you, I need to walk you through what a Jewish wedding looks like, right? So I set the expectation. And then I'm like, this is my friend, he invited me, we did this, we did this, we did this. And now comes the breaking the glass. And now if I would say, this is why, then everybody would turn off. So I said, and before I tell you why I break the glass, or why they break the glass, let me show you what the end looks like. And then I talk about the end. And then I say, and that's why you break the glass. So then you would be like, okay, creative insight is there. Does it provide value? Yes, it culturally connects something that you didn't know, educational value. Is it relevant to my audience? Does it attract people? So no matter whether you're Jewish or not, that's something that you might know. So my values is connect and bridging cultures. And then reason to watch till the end is there. Shareability, yes. Guess who's gonna share that video? Everyone who is Jewish be like, yes, see, that is our culture. That is why we do that. And then you hit pretty much, I don't have a specific like call to action for that. Now break a glass. But I gained, one thing that I do, I host weddings also as another job. And I got a client that was inviting me to host their weddings, right? So like, oh great, we saw your video, you are so good at explaining this, can you host our wedding? So that will be like a direct transformation into business. So I try to hit everything. You don't need to hit everything, but 100% you need to kind of ask yourself these questions. Okay, is there a creative insight, or am I just talking stuff that nobody really like cares about? So yeah. And creative insight is pretty much what's gonna make you unique. Where it is, if you are good at finding these things, then you're already like halfway there. Cool. Now, what makes no so good idea? I think that is very easy. If you cannot summarize it in one sentence, right? If there's no clear payoff, so you don't know what you're waiting to, so you're explaining it. If there's no story structure or challenge or organized list of points, so like, again, retention, it's not optimized. And if it's just fails to communicate why you actually need to watch that. So now, how to find them, and then I show you actually a lot of examples of what I did, and I think that is a direct learning here. What I often do, if I'm just starting to brainstorm and I'm like, I don't know what should I do about Taiwan, I start to go on Google and I just list a couple of inquiries like Taipei, visit Taipei, or whatever, and then you're like, okay, why don't we look what people already searching, right? So you're like, okay, is 2 full days in Taipei enough? Is a new Taipei city a good place to stay? Where to avoid staying in Taipei? And I could be like, you know what? That's actually a cool hook. Hook. Sometimes the German or Russian slips out of me. But like, here I have it. So I'm gonna show you 3 places where you should definitely not come to Taipei or stay. So these are the things that give me an initial like boost of like, hey, yeah, should I, would I? Interesting. Then there's a platform, I don't know if you know it, Answer the Public, right? I use it all the time. The benefit here is that you can actually filter by the country that it's searched in. So you don't want to have search inquiries from Taiwan if you want to target US people, right? So that is, and then you can also look at different platforms, but that is a great start for me. Thumbnails and comments. In general, I list through a lot of content, but one thing that I specifically do, I don't only just scan and be like, yeah, that's a cool title, I maybe could do something similar, but I look at what they have missed and what are people craving for. So I would go and then I will look all the comments and you will see, hey, thank you, but what about public transport? Can I pay this? And I'll be like, oh great, that is a gap that they haven't covered. So that could be something that I could do content about. So when you look at your competitors or competitors of your clients or any topics, you don't go and look what content they created, but more interesting, go in the comments and what people are craving for and they don't answer. TikTok has a thing called Creator Search Insights. I don't know if you ever heard about that. You just type in Creator Search Insights on your TikTok app and they share with you what is the current trend, what words are associated with that. It's a quite incredible tool. We can do that when we are doing the practical session. And then obviously you can look through best performing content in your niche or look at your competitors. That's kind of like a general way of finding stuff. There was an example of one video how I turned it to like 13 million views. I was doing a video about a multisensory experience in London. And I was like, okay, if I just say, hey, let me show you a multisensory experience in London, it's kind of boring, right? There's no really creative insight. So I start searching what people are searching in London for experiences. And I found out a lot of people look for what can I do in London that doesn't involve drinking alcohol, right? So like a lot of people are either like halal or they're just tired of going to the pub all the time. So I was like, oh, that's great. So if a lot of people are searching for that, why don't I make this a title? Instead of saying, let me show you a cool thing, I was like, hey, here's what you can do in London that doesn't involve drinking alcohol. And then guess what? Everyone commented, oh, imagine you do it with alcohol. Imagine you take drugs and do this. And I'm like, oh God. But like you give them a reason to kind of comment on this, and you already know that's kind of what people are gonna comment. And now I'm gonna go through, obviously I talked a lot about all these things, but how do I actually apply that? And what does it look like in terms of formula and real case scenarios? Here's one thing that I have done consistently. So this video got 10 million views, this video has 3 million views, and this video has 6 million views. Now, it's all about the same place, and it all follows exactly the same script. Just kind of like slightly twitched it, but once I found the creative insight, it would work over and over again. It doesn't even matter who talks about this. So I'll show you the first video, and then I'll break it down for you. Oh. Or in London, hidden in a toilet. Wait. Do I need to do this to return to that? Okay. Okay, yeah. So let me just... Or in London, hidden in a toilet. To get there, you need to exit at Covent Garden and continue to the restaurant called Buns and Buns. Ignore their amazing food and don't go to their bar, but head down straight to their toilet. When you arrive, you will see a mirror right in front of you. Knock on the mirror and you will enter a completely different world. The whole experience is divided into 3 different stages. Starting with drinks at the bar and getting to know the people around you. Finally, you continue to the main room that has a very unique lighting, and here are tables where you can have some food. Food comes in small plates and is designed for sharing, which could be an amazing location for a date. Each dish and each drink were between 15 and 20 pounds. They even had fake windows to make you feel less underground. The DJ comes with a percussionist, which makes the whole vibe sound like this. And finally, this whole place turns into a big party with people wearing masks, strangers becoming friends, and if you're like me who enjoys to dance, then you can read all the details in my captions and follow me for more places like this. Okay, yeah. So here's the creative insight, right? A lot of people have done videos about this place. In fact, this place was actually dying because it completely relies on digital marketing, because it's a secret bar. You need to go into a toilet, so you will not get foot traffic, right? So after this video, this place exploded. It was fully booked for 6 months. Completely organic. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wait, are you the only one who did a viral video on it?
I think so,
Yeah.
Ours is the only viral video.
That went to like 10 million views, yes. Yeah. The founder then was like, came hugging me and all that shit. It was so funny. So then I started working with them, and then that was not even a paid thing. I was like did a video. So but a lot of people did videos about this place and it just didn't go viral. And the thing is, what I did is like, if you look at this, you're like, oh cool, you go through a mirror, but you don't understand that this is a toilet, right? And what I did, I was like, wait a sec, familiar, unfamiliar, or like contrast. I was like, this is actually, you need to go through a toilet. I was like, wait, let me show you a bar that is actually inside of a toilet. And that's where everybody went crazy. Like, oh my gosh.
Familiar, but the bar and the toilet.
It doesn't make sense, right? In your brain, you're like, there's a contrast. And then you see that I walked them through, like, instead of just going like, here's a bar, you can do this and this, I start from the beginning. I'm like, here's where you go out. Then don't go here, don't go there, but go there. So like it creates a little bit of like a reason to watch till the end, what's gonna happen. And especially it creates relevancy because you like get out on Covent Garden. when you're in London, or if you've been to London, you're like, oh, by the way, you're often going to London, so you can go there. So you're like Covent Garden, I know Covent Garden, so it creates more relevancy for you. So then I thought to myself, okay, cool, that's great, but maybe I was just lucky, you know, one lucky video, whatever. I was like, is it actually luck? Or is it maybe me? Am I such a great personality that like people love to watch me and nobody else would recreate that? So I was like, at that time I was working with Sonia, she was working for me. And I was like, why don't we do exactly the same thing from a female perspective now? And just slightly twitch it, but the script exactly the same, right? And it's not even posted on my account, because the idea would be, oh yeah, but you have followers. It was posted on their brand account. And usually you think, oh, brand account usually don't work because it's not a person, blah, blah, blah.
Hidden in the toilet. To get there, you need to exit the Covent Garden and continue to the restaurant called Buns and Buns. But don't go inside. Instead, head straight down to their toilet. When you arrive, you will see a mural right in front of you. Knock on the mural and you will enter a completely different world. Here, a DJ is performing together
Exactly the same thing.
And bartenders make not only amazing cocktails, but the whole damn show. Food comes in small plates and is designed for sharing. Each dish and drink costs around 15 or 20 pounds. Finally, this turns into a big party with people wearing masks and glow sticks. And even their toilet is a whole vibe with those red and green lights. So here you have everything you need for a perfect night out, and there is no chance you won't dance the night away. To avoid disappointment, make sure you book before you visit. This is a night you don't want to miss.
Right. Same thing. 3 million views. Again, they're like fully booked again, right? And I was like, no way this thing is gonna work a third time, right? And then, like, when I used to work with them, I always would reinvent the wheel. I was like, okay, we did that, this worked, let's jump to a completely new idea. And then it wouldn't work. And I was like, why am I creating new ideas if I can just use that one over and over again? So then I was like, okay, now we have male perspective, now we have female perspective. What if we do male and female together? So like date, same thing, same script, same creative insight. End up with you in the toilet. First, meet your date at Covent Garden, take her hand, and walk her through this entrance. You will find a restaurant called Buns and Buns. Take a table and order a drink, definitely try the buns, and finally make the move. After, shall we go to the bathroom? What? I'm not like, shh. Use your finger to calm her down, get the code for the bathroom from the waiter, and leave her all the way with you. When you arrive, tell her it's about to go down. Whoa, 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 not this down. Knock on the mirror, and you will enter a whole different world. This place is called Kush Kush, and it's a hidden bar in the toilet, where you have music, crazy waiters, doing backflips, DJs, and once you put on those masks, whatever happens here, stays here. Right. Same creative insight, works again, just like make it a little bit more different or about a date. But what I want you to understand, you need just to find that, and then it doesn't matter what you're gonna do with that, it's going to work because it becomes a formula. So it's also like when you find something that's working, don't go to the next idea and work on the next idea and be like, oh yeah, let's now talk about completely something else. Do this until like it dies off. So 10 million views, 3 million views, 6 million views. And then we reposted exactly the same video, got again 1 million views. So that's what pretty much I want you to understand is that is an example of familiar versus unfamiliar, curiosity gap, and reason to watch till the end, right? If you can find that, and I don't know if you, like the same is with tech products, right? You find one creative insight that, you know, clicks, and then you just keep on doing exactly that, slightly different. Cool. Now, another way is comparison or conflict. You want to create as a hook. Yeah, that's something that I've doing a lot. Here's a case study. We worked actually with a tech company. The tech company is called Why Hangry, and what they do is you can order a private chef to your home, just like an Airbnb. So you look, hey, private chef, they had a problem. They said to me, hey, we want to attract more people to use our platform, but most people think it's super expensive and it's only for wealthy people. But in reality, if you split it, it's actually not as expensive as even going to the restaurant. So that was their problem. Okay, so instead of saying, hey guys, I'm going to show you a cool platform where you can do a private chef, that's what everyone does. We're like, okay, why don't we ask this question? Is it actually more expensive to go to the restaurant or hiring a private chef in London, right? And then we would introduce them. And I will show you now the video and you will see how I hold the payoff until the very end, but hook them in through it. Cool. They're going to the restaurant. I hired a private chef and invited 3 of my friends for dinner. And the price shocked me. But before I tell you, here's how it works. I went on Why Angry, which is literally an Airbnb for private chefs. You can see their prices, reviews, menus. I chose Christian because I wanted traditional Italian cuisine. On the day, Christian arrived 2 hours before the dinner with all the ingredients. While he was cooking, I prepared the dining table. And I also bought a 20-pound wine, which would have cost me 80 pounds in a restaurant. I have a tiny kitchen and I was concerned about it, but Christian managed it very well. We began with the beef tartare as our starters. Christian will take care of everything, including the presentation of the dishes. You can play your own music, be as loud as you want, there is no time restrictions, and you can be more intimate. As our mains, we had a delicious truffle risotto, and for dessert, we had Christian's own version of a panna cotta, which was served with coconut milk and coconut pieces. While we're playing games, Christian cleaned up everything and left the kitchen tidier than when he has arrived. And now the price. We paid £260 in total, but we got £60 off on our first booking, including the wine. That means we paid £55 per person. So if you want to host next time, come and chef, and I'll send you a £60 off voucher too. Is hiring a private chef in London more expensive? Right. So here was a clear contrast of two things that we're doing. We all go into the restaurant and now I put it against something that you don't know, right? Like, oh, challenging your belief. For that, you really need to understand the target audience. Then what I did, I was like, the price shocked me, but I'm not gonna tell it to you, I'm gonna tell it at the very end, right? That's how I make sure that you're gonna watch till the end. Then I have a call to action, which is comment chef, and I'll send you a £60 voucher, and you see everyone is commenting chef. And you're familiar with ManyChat? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this generated them 700 new leads and dropped their cost per lead from £20 to £3.
And ManyChat does it automates sending
the voucher. Yeah. So you start a conversation there, and you can capture their email, or they can go directly to the website. But this video got organically 1 million views, and then they put money behind that.
There, it has a link to our YouTube
Uh huh.
as well, and
But they clicked an ad to the pre-launch landing page, right?
yeah,
And then they
go
reserved
straight
at
to
the
pre-launch.
on the bottom of the landing page.
It's spread throughout, so
Oh,
they can
multiple
make
places
yeah,
to
there are
visit.
multiple places
Right. So that means
for a call to action.
our content goals,
Yeah.
especially for this phase, is not to generate as many followers as possible, is not to generate, comments. For us, the most important is traffic to the pre-launch page. That is the only thing that we care about. The more people go to the pre-launch page, the more there's a possibility that somebody actually gonna buy this bike, right? So the whole idea of we wanna have a specific brand right now is actually not our main concern. Our main concern is how do we can sell the first 100 bikes and what is the response from the market. So when we look at that, then we understand that, okay, we treat every single piece of content as traffic to pre-launch page. Because if you would have already so many sales and a running machine and you're like, now we're going to invest in really our brand, but investing in the brand without sales is very difficult, right? So that's why that would be the goals, right? And then what you want to do is to be like, okay, our organic content is actually our testing ground. And once we find that perfect piece of content that is going viral, what you already had, that should be fed into the paid media to reduce our cost per meal, like our click-through rate and our cost per acquisition, right? So who's running the paid ads? Is it you or is it somebody else?
Somebody else.
Okay, but when you look at return on investment, then currently the paid ads really depend on the creative. Who is creating the creative for the paid ads? You both, right?
No, wait.
No?
They are.
So it's like right now with that, the paid ads, we have somebody else creating the ads, but we have the creative control.
Yeah, they
Like
take
execution.
Yeah.
Someone else.
Execution is done.
they take our content and
Right.
they manipulate it and create like a remix.
Got it. So they use the raw material that you have and make the ads out of that. So here's what you need to understand, that TikTok, Instagram, or whatsoever, right now, your number one priority is to find the formula that is actually working in terms of like a video that drives traffic and is engaging and has social proof. Because when they run ads, what do people do? From the ads, they go immediately to the pre-launch page and so on. They don't go on your Instagram page, then check, are the photos kind of on brand before I buy that? And then go to the pre-launch and then, right? So it's really just about interesting. I've seen the ads, I've seen the content, I want to check it out. If you would be $100 million brand and like we're like really want to focus on how can we elevate our brand, then I would be like, yes. But right now, you also don't have anything to lose because you're just starting out. So it's really using the channels as a pure experimentation until you hit the nail and then run ads on that specific thing, because the ads become cheaper and you have a much better return on investment. So that's what I would say for your client and you, that what needs to be the priority. And then after you sell the 100 bikes and you get $1 million in angel investors money, then you can be like, you know what? Let's think about more nicely polished content, have a clear feed here and there. Do you agree?
So this has been my strategy. The missing link has been your formula of this creative insight, discovery content. What's the other two types?
Discovery, consideration, and conversion.
Conversion, being intentional about these three types. But it has been sort of a page to experiment, but I think we hadn't been very or intentional enough about the experiments
Right.
that we have been conducting. So I want, I think Doris is correct to ask for a bigger production budget. But I would say, Doris, the way forward is to use that budget to conduct more experiments.
Yeah.
Find formula that works for you guys.
Right. And now, this is why we do this, right? The setting the goals and the KPIs and and the content goals, because now it's very clear for us. Even if the client asks you, hey guys, what's going on with our channels? That's our goal. Our goal is to try as much as possible, reduce your cost, sell more bikes, and then we're going to start thinking about how we're going to position ourselves or whatsoever. Because also to position yourself, you kind of need to have some feedback from the market. Which features do they really love? What they respond to the most? So it's all about experimentation. So that is the business marketing goals. And from that, we're now, okay.
Wait, can we go back?
Yeah.
So for content goals, all I see here is platforms, but would it be
For content,
discovery content?
for content goals, our main goal would be traffic to pre-launch page, actually.
Based on discovery content, right?
Yes. No, yeah, and that would be, to reach that goal, we would need discovery goals. We need this discovery goal to lead more traffic to pre-launch page. Because then you would decide, hey, we have many platforms. Should we do YouTube long form, or should we do short form, or should we do Instagram, or should we do TikTok? Then you would be like, what is our cheapest or most affordable CPM to drive discovery.
So, from a content goal perspective, discovery content would be, for example, hey guys, I tried running for 30 minutes and I tried cardio speeder for 30 minutes. One of these burns more calories, stuff like that.
That would be almost it, but that's why we need to do the next step before we do that, is to understand the audience and who we're really speaking to. Because once we understand the pain point of the audience, then I can confirm with you, okay, yeah, that's what it is. Exactly. Because like if you say one of our pain points of the audience is actually weight loss, then we can do stuff like that. And if you say, oh, it's weight loss for moms that just like had a kid and want to get back into shape, then you have moms talking about stuff and about using the bike and using it in everyday whatever, right? So that's why you really need to understand what are the personas, at least what you think they are. And then when you post the content, you will understand which persona responds the most to that. And that's how you identify who is your like most valuable customer. So do you have research on that, or have you seen, like when you analyze the competitors, what their personas are? Have you done that at all?
I've done a little bit.
What have you learned so far?
So I basically plugged everything in. Well, I did research on Perplexity first, then I plugged it into chat and was like, give me some consumer profiles. So we have one that's like US, like suburban, urban US, Taiwan, 35 to 65, middle's an upper middle class, annual income USD 60 to 150, health conscious professionals, retirees, or commuters seeking ergonomic comfort and sustainability. They value comfort, wellness, eco-consciousness, and quality craftsmanship. Psychographics are they feel limited by conventional upright bikes due to back, wrist, or joint pain. They include active leisure but value safety and control. They likely invest in products that improve mobility, independence, and quality of life. They prefer design-led products with tangible ergonomic or lifestyle benefits, which obviously it has. And then the comparable consumer archetypes, Peloton users aging out of high-intensity workouts but still seeking ergonomic outdoor fitness, Tesla or hybrid car owners prioritizing sustainable smart transport, and retired or semi-retired individuals embracing mobility and freedom.
Okay, so
you can plug those into this framework here.
Oh yeah, sure.
So, like,
I'll just
everyone
copy
can
it.
see
yeah, so you can almost like screenshot this and be like, hey, can you please do this for, and cluster it by their needs and interests. I mean, like basically what we're doing. So we just can get, because right now I already hear different things that would for me click as content themes. One is mobility, one is commute, one is ecological aspect, right? And then you would be like, okay, let's say for example, commute. You would take that and then you would showcase or do challenges about commuting or getting somewhere and being efficient and whatever. Then you can start thinking about, okay, if commute is one of our pillars, what can we actually talk about to what are people currently commuting with? How would that improve their commute or whatever? And then we can start thinking about that angle. That becomes one angle. So that's why we need to have these kind of things. So the Reese is doing that currently. Because once we have the target audience insights, we then translate that.
I would say the target audience insights through the AI, I wouldn't call that 100% accurate. It's using very limited information that's online to make these conclusions.
Right.
So there still has to be a lot of experimentation.
Yeah, that's for sure. But we need to kind of, to at least start somewhere.
Yeah.
Because we cannot just random say, let's just try an idea with that.
But based on the one viral video we have, it went cycling community, not the fitness community, and these two don't talk to each other whatsoever.
Right. So that could be one, right? Like, if you want one persona is, I don't know.
Yeah, cyclists.
So we have the guy that is already cycling, that values, I don't know, like, that's something that we need to include in. Another persona, you said the suburban commute.
Yeah,
Guy.
suburban commuter, yeah. Because it is like a larger bike, it doesn't fold.
Yeah, it doesn't do well in elevators, for sure.
Right. Then we have maybe someone, I don't know, a person that wants to keep fit.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. So like aging fitness enthusiast.
And one thing that we also want to realize as well, that the shopper is not necessarily the target audience. The one who buys the product is not always the target audience. Like, for example, male perfume, the target audience actually females that want their boyfriend to smell a certain way, right? Same here in terms of, like, if we think about, elderly, but most probably it's maybe their children be like, hey, I got you a gift because it will be helpful with your mobility, right? And then the content would be very different. Instead of selling it to like an older guy that thinks like, oh, this is all fucking bullshit, to actually younger people maybe gifting it to their parents. Then we can start working on that. Okay, let's say cyclists, is we have suburban commuter, and here it's also a question of obviously location. I would probably start with Taiwan because Taiwan is very familiar to you guys. Because if we think about US, but we create content in Taiwan and post it in I don't even know where, then that will be also a problem. You probably want to separate that because the commuting culture and suburban life is completely different from.
What we do is we shoot in places that look like they could be in the West, like certain parts of Taiwan which are ambiguous.
Or like for this one, we wanted to do like a mountain and like an ocean or riverside shoot, so that's kind of more neutral.
Yeah.
Just
I mean,
like outdoors.
that is possible, but then the more relevancy you have, the more it feels like Taiwan, the more people from here will actually want to consume that, right? Mm-hmm. Rather than making it kind of not look like anything. So that's what that is a question of localization.
So like when we started working on it, that's why I was like, we can just go to SF and shoot there, because I feel like then you don't have to worry about like finding something similar. It's like you're already there where your TA is.
I know, it's a matter of budget. Like ideally we would have $100,000 to do one video and we'd all fly to SF. But
And then you get 600 views.
You don't need 100,000.
okay, but good luck with that conversation.
Okay, cool. That is like preliminary, right?
Why don't we work on each audience?
Yeah, that would be great to have like clearly list out. So what you can do is, why don't you put in chat that you have a cyclist? Can you please give me the needs and goals, psychographics, and pain points?
But I need some like preliminary points. Like, why don't we all talk about, okay, what are their pain points? What is psychographic? Just have some notes. I think that one that Doris has, that's for commuters, right?
Yeah, that one's specifically for
Okay.
suburban commuters. Yeah.
Okay, so we have that one.
Yeah.
Just need to polish it a little bit.
And if you do in Taiwan, you probably want also to use Chinese, right?
Of course.
But for Kickstarter, we're just focusing on US, right?
Yeah.
So Kickstarter is only based in US.
Okay, so that means if you are in Taiwan, you cannot even buy that.
You can buy it, but the Kickstarter is to kickstart the US sales.
Okay, so then we need to focus on on.
Basically, focus on the US.
Okay, so then we can kind of scrape Taiwan
Yeah.
in that
Yeah,
sense.
For now,
And how do you ensure that the content is actually seen in the US?
Well, we don't, but with the one viral video we have, we can tell it's the US.
Because people comment in English and
Just
whatsoever.
because
Right?
people comment in English.
Yeah, okay.
Some of them could be in Europe.
So that's why I think TikTok could be such a great experimental ground for you, because you could post it with the VPN and see if people consumed it in the US.
Yeah.
And find that format that is suited for them, or like, you know. But there, yeah. Do you have these bikes in the US?
Yeah, there a few samples are being sent over now. Yeah. But
So
he's gonna import them and store them in a warehouse in the US.
So what I'm saying is, you might want to also think about the creator marketing approach, not influencer marketing. But I used to work literally just like months ago on the Chinese product, which is like a pool cleaning robot in the US. And what the agency would do is they would send the robot to creators and let them create the content in the US, but you would define what is the brief.
Also like UGC?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Because that's what you want to experiment with. You want to actually like tell them what to do, because it's going to cost you less than just flying there.
The problem is there's no products over there yet. For Super E, the e-bike, it seems like it won't be until next year sometime when those products will hit the US.
So then what you want to do is you want to try different formulas, kind of like different experiments, so you know, oh, this is what people responded to the most. And so your content almost becomes some sort of, in this stage right now, almost market research in terms of what's working. So when you're actually going to launch, you don't need to guess.
Right.
So you want to understand of like, what are the angles that we're going to put out, and then what are people respond to the most. Have you seen, do you get data from the paid media team
You get some data.
in terms of like, who is the one that clicks currently the most? What is the targeting there?
Yeah, we have the targeting information, the age range, gender, all that.
So like, who is responding to the ads at the moment the most?
For the cardio speeder, it's been mostly men, older, and wait, let me graphic. There we go. So around 35 to 44, pretty much mostly male, US.
These are the ones who've signed up to be on the email list?
Yeah,
Okay.
so 45 and up.
45 and up.
45 and up.
Wow.
And mostly male?
Mostly male, yeah.
Okay.
So we have 90% male.
And how many sign up so far?
How many signed up so far? We have. One second. $163.
Okay.
Or 163 subscriptions to like keep up with news about it, but only 4 reservations.
Newsletter subscription?
Yeah, newsletter subscription.
So you have a newsletter.
Yeah, so we have the pre-launch. You can subscribe to the pre-launch, which is a newsletter, and then you can make a reservation. So those are sort of the 3 levels that we're at.
Right. So
Our goal is definitely reservations and to make sales, but we
Right.
also are collecting.
but the consumer journey is this.
Yes.
I discover through ads, without even the brand available or whatever. I look at the pre-launch, I subscribe to the newsletter, I keep up with the news, and then I eventually make a reservation.
Yes.
Right? So that's the funnel. that we have. So right now, then one of our KPIs. Oh yeah, exactly. One of our KPIs is definitely newsletter subscription.
Yes.
Because then there we can nurture them and we have their contact
Yes.
to show interest. And now we know that most of the people that subscribe are male and over 45. The only thing is that it also can depend on the messaging of the ad itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the messaging is, I don't know, like, here's what you should do for your retirement, then obviously you're gonna have more older audience.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
But our messaging doesn't specifically speak to older guys.
Our messaging, the messaging that has worked the best for us has been ones along the lines of burn more calories faster, like it very
But are
weight
you-
loss oriented.
Are we talking about the stationary bike or the e-bike?
The stationary bike.
Okay.
Basically, because after 45, you start to slow down on your metabolism. I'm imagining that's why they have responded.
So that messaging has done the best. We're currently still collecting data for the electric bike. We've only had the ads gone out for a week right now, so we don't have a lot of data to go off of yet.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, okay. But this, for example, the suburban commuter, this is the e-bike, right?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe we should establish here who we are talking to,
Yeah.
like, because
Yeah, it's two products, two
because this probably, so we have suburban commuter and we have cyclist is the e-bike people.
No, the cyclists are the cardio people as well.
Oh yeah?
And the main reason is because they cannot go out in the winter, so they need something to keep in shape.
Okay, so that would be a pain point. So they're like in the middle, okay. But pain point is, maybe Joanna, you can add that. We have, can't go out in the winter, right?
Yeah.
And now it is winter,
Right.
which is a great opportunity for us to use that as a whole content. Cool. Then we have aging enthusiast, which is, hey, what you said, metabolism, right?
Yeah.
Metabolism slows down. You need to keep up. Maybe here you would probably also say running is bad for your knees.
It's okay all the time.
Yeah. And there's probably more pain points of that. So like if we, for example, have something like that, which is like, hey, running is bad for your knees and there are so many people, is it actually true? Well, what if we compare running to cycling? What happens? That becomes more an educational content that is making people aware. Again, familiar, unfamiliar, right? Everyone's familiar with running. Everyone knows, is it actually good or bad for your body? I don't know, right? But what is the alternative? Well, this thing. What happens with your body when you are cycling? It activates your body more and whatever. So if you're interested in the winter to stay fit, but you don't want to run around, check out our page.
What other pain points do you guys?
Yeah, we can run that also through, to accelerate that through chat.
What about psychographic?
But if I would be like, hey, you know what? Peloton is one of our competitors, right? Why are people getting rid of their Pelotons? Okay, great. Why did everyone leave Peloton? Does Costco sell? Why?
Oh, they had like a. What was it? Oh, I forgot if it was Peloton or another one, but there was like a safety issue with them, if I remember correctly.
So you could go and look. What are they called? Peloton is not only in the. Peloton is the main group of pack of riders. That's why what it is. Okay, got it. But like the bike itself, stationary e-bike, is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's a stationary bike.
Yeah, or exercise bike. Exercise bike.
Exercise bike, yeah. So, okay, then there's the health aspect. Oh, you see, is a static cycle good for bad knees? Joints, right? So like that would be a very good pain point for us to write down in general, is like joint problems, right? Because that is something, if you have joint problems and you listen about that and you're like, here's a way to keep your joints healthy, then suddenly it becomes very interesting to me. Even these questions give us already quite a lot of, like, is it okay to do stationary bike every day?
So this is based off of probably thousands of queries, right?
Right, yes. Do knees get stronger with cycling? How many miles on a stationary bike equals 10,000 steps? That becomes very interesting.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Like that would be already a great piece of content, to be honest.
Right.
Because how often is it that we're like, sit the whole day, but maybe you could actually, I don't know, watch a video or whatever you do while you're riding it to get your steps back in. Is cycling good for ankles? And ankle joint flexibility, range of motion as a consistent movement gently stretches. So, is biking better than walking? At all intents, cycling burns more calories per hour than walking for a 150-pound person, which is perfect for US, according to the Compendium of Physical Activities. You see how much you already get just by looking at that? It's just like starts really like turning your... And you could almost like do these videos while you're cycling and explaining that, right? That like could be a cool way.
Oh, that would be fun, yeah. Because then you can make a series.
Yeah.
But so this is good stuff, but at the same time, it's informative, but does it bring people to click on the link? How do we tie it back to the product or the brand?
I mean, that is very clear. So like, for example, first of all, you would try a lot of different things of, like, for example, answering those questions, right? In an interesting way. Imagine usually like, you know how girls on TikTok do their makeup and they tell a story? And it works well because there's like two activities like at the same time. So imagine you're actually on a bike and you're talking about, hey, is cycling actually good for your health or is it bad for your health? Whatever, and then you're doing this. So you put out a lot of, like, the easiest way, low effort, right? Is like, get a lot of these questions, answer them in an interesting way while you're cycling. You could literally do it here, right? Without any high effort or whatever. And then you would see what sticks, where people are responding to, who is responding to. And once it works, then you can produce a more interesting ad, right? That is maybe with actors or maybe with, like when you understand exactly what people are responding to. Are people responding to the most when it comes about ankles, or is it about, when you say, for example, is cycling good for your ankles? Or is running good for your knees? You could say as that, or is running good? When should you stop running? Or at what age, if your parents run, it actually starts being bad for them, right? So like these are the questions that would then target different types of people, because now it's becoming more relevant to me because like, oh, my parents are now in their mid-50s. That's interesting. I want to know. Hey, Dad, did you know, like, stop running?
But going back to my question, would you then put a CTA back to the product, or would you just make it educational content for awareness?
So you could use ManyChat and use CTA in the middle of the content or at the end of the content saying, by the way, this bike is a new bike that we're using, blah, 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 go to this or comment this, and we'll send you if you want to improve your steps, right? Or if you don't get your steps in, comment this, check out our pre-launch page.
Right.
So that would be a CTA that you can use. On TikTok, here's also what you need to think. Either you say, yeah, there's a link in bio, or you could go and be like, you know what? We use this content in order to validate which idea works. And then we're gonna just like use that then to run the ads. And there you have a clear CTA, which is frictionless, right? To improve the ads. And if you find out that there's one video that went viral, and then you're like, hey, I'm gonna target very specific people that are above this age group, and they definitely have this problem, then your ad's gonna work like even better. I give you an example. I used to work with flotation center. You know the flotation pots where you lay like clothes? And one of the pain points is that people have insomnia, and this helps them to fall asleep. Now, what we found out, if we're targeting these people, we were running these ads at midnight to like 3 a.m. because that's when people can't sleep. And when you're like, hey, if you are not able to fall asleep, here's why flotation pads help. And then you can be very tactical with the way you run the ads. So that would be like this insight. And here's the same. You're testing a bunch of content. You would test all of these things just for the start. You could start with questions, but then you could also start with very specific stats and be like, I don't know, did you know that most of people have a knee injury because of running and not because of whatever? So why does that happen? So like that could be very low effort. You don't need to, be an expert, and you also don't need to have a high production. You can do it in this office. And the only goal is to find out what are people going to respond to. So, and this whole thing is right now one theme, which is health. And health is one of the biggest, like the best pain points people can have. Because when it's their health, you can justify anything. Because the cost of having a broken knee is much higher than $2,000. So, oh great. So then we would go and create from this target audience insight, instead of spending now like a lot of time on getting the nitty-gritty, this is pretty much what our next step is the core content themes. Right? And here we would go and we would have one pillar is health. Right? We could start with that. And within health, we can now break down different bodies, right? So if we have, do we have this like notes, note taker? Oh, sorry. Okay. So this is something that we can brainstorm together right now. And if you want, Jackie, right?
Yeah.
You can go on Answer the Public and you can already look at what are the most common questions about those bikes.
Can you go back? Oh. There.
Is it this?
Yeah. Is that what you're looking for?
No, it was just like these notes that you take.
Yeah, okay. Oh, you're asking about that.
So health is one. Then you could be second pillar could be convenience, because if you say in the winter you cannot go out and you cannot do stuff, then we're talking about a pillar that is convenience. What, like, can you do, and you have different specific people. Then as another pillar, like we have health, we have convenience, aging.
Let's put all the pillar on one side. Let's just put, or is that what you want to do?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
And then you would, specifically for those stationary bikes, people buy it. That is the question that you ask yourself, what I mentioned in these two ways. Either you grow the segment or you're taking from competitions. If Apple wants to sell more phones, they cannot grow the segment. They need to, everyone has a phone, right? They need to convince you to go from Samsung to Apple and the other way around. Here, what is our primary focus? Is our primary focus to make somebody switch from Peloton to this bike? Or is our primary focus to educate people to get a bike and they don't even have a stationary e-bike?
I think early in the life of a brand, it's easier to steal the customers from someone because you don't need to do all this education.
Right.
Yeah. And then later stage is more like, okay, the problem unaware people.
Right.
To educate them.
So which means that some of our content can be done also by comparing this to another bike. That would be a more, again, then we are targeting users that have already, they're sold to the idea, but they already bought a bike for a lot of money. Now they need to buy a second bike, right? But that could be something. So content themes, health. Why don't we take this while Joanna is like putting more in, but why don't we put this in the middle? And we're like, okay, what from the pain points that people have, we can write the pain points around that, and we can then go from the pain point to idea, right? So you'll be like, okay, health, I'll put here, what do we have? Knee problems / mobility, right? Then we have
back pain is a big one. Stationary bikes.
I had a question real quick.
Yeah.
So I had actually put together like core brand pillars already.
Yeah.
Does that go in this part of?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it's
Content pillars, yeah.
Content,
Core,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, they were called brand pillars.
Okay.
I was like thinking about that, but content pillars also works if we're doing it for content. Yeah. So I had comfort, so sort of like comfort redefined, because it's like the going forward sort of Superman position is very novel.
And we're talking about the stationary right
yeah,
now, yeah?
both. They use the same position.
Okay.
Yeah. So this idea that it's like comfortable for you, so it's like comfort redefined. It's also like a higher value sell, I think, because like if you're at the level that you're spending thousands of dollars on like a bike, stationary or otherwise, you're probably really invested in having like a good user experience. So that was one of them. Second one was smart sustainability. So obviously with the e-bike, because that was more where I was working with, it's electrical, so low carbon emissions. It's also like well designed, right? So people want to connect with that, especially if you're talking to people with like a certain tax bracket, they're well educated. That's kind of what they want to see. And then the third one I had was design.
Comfort design,
Yeah,
smart
so
sustainability.
Design and control. So then associating the brand with innovation. So it's new. This is like a new thing in the market. Wellness, and then mobility, but like with a more lifestyle angle to it. Yeah. So
I need to mention that anyone who spent any amount of time riding the Super E, they realize it's not that convenient, but it's really fun. The G-forces are hitting you much harder in the procumbent position, while going even slowly, you feel like you're flying. But that's been very tricky to talk about because
it's an experience, right?
It's been tricky. It's been tricky to visualize it, to show on content.
Yeah, because it's an experience.
Because I keep telling them, make it look fast, make it look fast. That's all I can say.
I guess what interesting it is to get people's reaction on that when they write it for the first time. Like that could be in itself content.
Right.
Yeah, we had one testimonial video.
I think it'd be good to do another round of just random people trying it.
Exactly, and maybe with an incentive. Maybe you can say like, if you can get around the whatever, like the track within this much time, you get this bike for free. No, but like you get something. But like gamify that, and then people are like, what the hell? Like, oh, that's crazy. And maybe you can put even a, 360 or whatever on clam it, and then film the reaction.
Yeah, we did that already.
Right.
It came out pretty cool.
So it's about packaging. Okay, but that is what I feel: comfort, smart, sustainability, and fun. This is what the brand, as you said, this is the brand core pillars. And when I say health and convenience and all that stuff, this is the customer core pain points, right? So what we want to do is bridge those, because the customer doesn't care that that bike looks super cool, right? It's more like we want to be associated with great design, but it's not enough for me to be like, I really want it right now, but like, I really want to solve my problem right now.
Yeah.
Can you kindly label brand pillars on the left and what's the other thing on the right?
Customer pain points.
Yeah, customer pain points.
Yeah, we can even put it, let me put this here. And then our content should be pretty much talking about the customer pain point through one of those brand pillars, right? Comfort solves, I don't know, ass hurting, right? That's what you say. And then that should be the content about. Right? So when it comes to health, then you would then go into, hey, comfort, because it's much more comfortable to do this while watching a movie than going out in winter where it snows and get your steps in. So
in this case of fun, I feel like the main thing that thing has going for it is it's fun. But how do you connect that to a pain point? It's boring to ride any bike.
no, it's nobody wants to do like go by bike because it's maybe like you don't like it. You feel like you're doing like every time you have fun doing something, you're gonna lose weight. It's hard to be consistent with something if you don't have fun.
Well, in this case of the e-bike, for example.
I mean, like if I would be like thinking of like I'm a suburban commuter and I want to improve my health by doing this rather than taking the car, then it must be a lot of fun, so I keep the consistency.
There's no health benefit, but I think typically people ride e-bikes when they don't want to ride a push bike, right?
Right. Yeah.
And the pain point is you don't need to sweat.
Exactly. So this is then for people that already have a bike and they don't like specific things about the process, and you're like, hey, you can have the best of both worlds. You can have the bike, but you don't need to be out of breath. Okay. So then in terms of content, right, like brand pillars, customer pain points, which we fill out, instead of in terms of content pillars, we would go a little bit different from what the brand pillars are, because then the bridge between pain point and, for example, comfort could be educational content, right? We just need to change. Oh yeah, you can do that.
Like what kind of educational content?
In terms of like educating people on the benefits. Something that we have found here, which is like, is cycling good for ankles? right? Now we can make educational content and like actually testing it or explaining it. And the US stats show that this is what happens.
Recycling for what? Ankles.
Ankles, an example. And that could be our pillar of like, hey, what we want to do is a format of like, you know what, while I'm riding the bike, I'm going to test and explain to you all the questions about this bike. And that pillar is like educational and then maybe frequently asked questions. And you could, like, I give you an example. You remember I mentioned the float pods, right, that I worked with. This is exactly what we did, and it worked like so well. Here, like even if I go on floating, it will rank there. But all of these videos that now have hundreds of thousands of views is actually through search.
This is your content?
Yeah, this is the content that I did with them. It was not me. We said, you know what? I did one video about them and it went viral, right? And then a lot of people start dropping a lot of questions, which like, oh my God, what if I'm claustrophobic? Can I drown? And whatever. And then what happens if I fall asleep in the sensory deprivation thing? So we took all of these questions and we just did content. Oh, right.
Deprivation pod. Let's try it. We often get questions if you could drown when falling asleep. As you see, you wouldn't be able to drown even if you would want to. The high buoyancy will keep you on the surface, and when your float is finished, music starts playing. And that should definitely wake you up. If you still don't wake up, which is very unlikely, the filtration system will start. That will interrupt your float and make you wake up for sure. So you shouldn't be afraid to fall asleep. Indeed, it happens often and is a very refreshing feeling. If you have any other questions, just drop it in the comments.
Oh, wait, this is one where they use it at home. It's not like at a center.
No, it is a center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like we would then rank them everywhere around floating.
As a couple. First, let's see how sensory deprivation works. Water is heated closely to body temperature so you almost don't feel it. 2. You reduce your senses by turning off the light and sound. 3. Around half a ton of salt keeps you above water so you deeply relax your body. This means 20 bags of these. And just like 11 in Stranger Things, you can get into the super focused state and recharge your mind and body. Floating naked with your partner would just be distracting. Instead, you can both float separately and share your experience in your relaxation room afterwards. While floating, you should really focus completely on yourself. Comment down below what you would want to know next.
Very simple, right? But like, there's so many flotation centers and they wouldn't like never done content like this. It's not highly produced content or anything. And at that time when we did it, it was not the most viral content, but now all of their content has like thousands of views.
Where
Right.
are they?
In London.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah. So what I want to show, like FAQ is a very powerful thing,
Yeah.
and it doesn't need to be highly produced, and it can be very simple, and especially if you post it on YouTube, people search for that because there's so many other competitors in the whole thing. So somebody may be searching for Peloton and be like, hey, is cycling bad for my knees? And you're like promoting, you're answering the question, you're ranking, and you have this bike there, right? So that could be a long-term, like a search strategy, because next time somebody's searching that, you are the one that's ranking.
Steal their keywords. Yeah.
Exactly, but through organic content, and then see what works. And by the way, these things work also super well on TikTok and Instagram and whatsoever. So I'll go back. Educate people, other FAQs. That is, for example, 1. Challenges, right? Could be another thing. Like, if you think about it, you want to raise awareness for this, like how, like you go and you take the most common foods and you're like, hey, how much writing do I need if I eat a Big Mac, right? And you eat it, and then you go and you wear like a wearable, and you track it, and it's like, next time, comment what I should eat next, and then I do the next exercise or whatever, right? Like, so like, very like, because one customer pain point is this, which we then can connect to content pillar educate people. And that, another customer pain point could be calories, right? Or like weight loss. And then you could be like, you could actually showcase them on the one hand from that content pillar, how much, like a Big Mac is so many calories. Instead, you could eat this. This is what it would look like to burn a Big Mac versus this on the bike, right? Stuff like that. Or comfort, you could be like, hey, how much calories will you burn if you watch, I don't know, Inception while riding the bike? Like now you start becoming, again, familiar, anything that is interesting into a challenge. So let's say we have one content pillar that is challenges. Now we would continue. Continue through, I mean, for now, this is the process you're already seeing, right? Goals, understanding clearly what our problem is, researching the search demands, clustering it into pillars, thinking about, okay, what format, like from content pillars, you will then go into a format. Now, what I just shown you on YouTube, that would be a format. Call out the question, showcase it in a very like interesting way. So if you would be like, is cycling good for ankles? Well, let's test it. This is what my ankles look like after 10-mile run, or this is how ankles work. If we're running, we're putting this much weight on this much surface, which actually leads to irritation and then can cause in 20 years these kind of pains. Now, when you cycle, your body goes in a different motion. There you have less friction. Simple, right? So that would be the format. Challenges. And now what we would need to do is like, okay, brainstorm more stuff by going through more research and maybe even going on TikTok and be like, okay, why don't we look for stationary bike, right?
Just to go to the gym to use the bikes, then you need to check out this deal. So I just got this Giant stationary bike, and it has made working out for me so much easier. Not only can I work out from the comfort of my home, but I can wheel this thing just about anywhere in my house to find the perfect view, even during the winter time. But the best part is it's on sale right now for just $100.
Right. But you know what would be interesting is you take this bike and share what is the difference between this and this. You could almost react to specific videos that were already filmed and would be like, here's the problem with these bikes.
Right.
And here, when I do research, I would go in the comments. That's the most important. And you see, by the way, you're like thinking, does it translate into sales? Look at the comments. Where can I buy this? Link for the bike, right above the name on the video. Right, like, oh yeah. So
nothing are people boosting content on TikTok? Or
yeah, for sure, because you see it's a paid partnership.
Right.
So most probably they boost, but when they boost something like this, it feels much more natural because it's not like a product brand. And again, when you see this content, you're not gonna go actually on this brand page, Instagram, check out whether the thumbnails are aligned. You're gonna go to the link, and there in the link, you can have a very nice YouTube video that is highly produced because that's gonna funnel you into consideration. So when you look at here, you will see like, okay, can the handlebar part be lifted? How to order, just go outside. It's like being in the forest. or here, please put your seat up, you're screwing your legs up. That could be something like, hey, what is the perfect seat angle? How do you actually, you could almost, actually that is perfect. You could take this insight and be like, okay, you could almost say, which seat position is the best? And then you remove the seat position. And we're like, actually, there is a better solution, right? Instead of sitting, you can also standing. And here's the difference, what happens when you seat in the wrong position and you go too long on the bike, right? So now you're taking something familiar that people know from the gym and you're like putting an unfamiliar twist on it.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Pretty smart.
And that is just from now watching one video, yeah? We already got like 3 ideas. Then we would just go and what?
I'm spending 45 minutes to an hour on a stationary bike trying to lose body fat. That shit ain't gonna work. Let me break it down for you. If you wanna lose body fat, we gotta be efficient when we in the gym. So it's gonna be more efficient for you to move 200 to 300 calories out of your diet instead of trying to burn it on a stationary bike. Time is money. So if you want to get to the results as fast as possible, you need to focus on the weight section, dog. Focus on getting stronger. Focus on improving in performance because that's the only way you're really going to change your body composition and lose body fat. Get your ass off the stationary bike, man, and get to work. I got to keep it G with y'all, man. Stop spending.
So here's a great, maybe if you could start the video with like, let's keep it G. No, I'm just kidding. Let's keep it G with you. But what I would do here, the first idea that comes to my mind is he's saying stationary bike for weight loss, actually bullshit. You need to train and do weights. Is it actually true? Right? And then you could test that, right? Or you could ask people, or you could go in the fitness studio, I don't know, like, or ask people that do, here's actually also an interesting idea. Familiar, unfamiliar. You put this thing into a gym, and you ask people to try this instead of the thing where people go into and ask them how to react. Or you could almost do something else. You could put this into a gym and say, and film hidden reactions. Will people understand how to use it? Is like one of them. And see if what the reaction is going to be. And film them secretly. But at the end of the day, you could be just like faking it. But that could be a test.
Basically, the takeaway is test content, test random weird stuff, build a creative insight.
Yeah, because you would always go like, when you see here and you see contrast. You remember I said to you, do this or do this, right? Restaurant or private chef. This guy, get off the stationary bike. The others say, bye, I lost 40 pounds on 60-minute cycle rides, lol, or whatever. Stationary bike do help if you want to burn fat. Looking at this while I'm on a stationary bike. I used the bike and I came from 267 to 49 in 3 weeks. Now, that is great because it sparks conversation. Is he right or not? And you could actually like challenge that and, I don't know, go street interviews or whatever. Put this thing outside, stationary bike or a gym. Oh, stationary bike. Oh, try this. Whatever.
Yeah.
Great insight here. I've got mobility issues. I'm going to do with what works best for me, buddy. Mobility issues, we just confirmed that. Great. So that's how I analyze conversations, and I'm like, great, let's make a piece of content about that. Great. 30-day challenge works. What kind of, again, you remember challenge content. What kind of challenges you doing? What can we do that is like a 30 days worth of challenge and breaking a world record in losing the most calories or whatever? Like now that if we start looking into this properly, we understand there's like unlimited content. Here's kind of like what we discussed, right?
The Maroc stationary bike, and this is what I use to keep my mind sharp,
My muscles strong and my heart even stronger. This bike.
Okay, no, that's not what we discussed. But yeah, what is this? Even that could work. Instead of benefits stationary tread bike versus treadmill, you could be stationary bike seated versus standing.
We should definitely do that content piece.
Right. So, and that's pretty much tapping into the conversation. And what I would ask you to do would be like, you know what? We skimmed, for example, TikTok, right? We saw content. Let's copy this and add it into format, which means, wait. We have now content pillars, and the next would be format. And then you can put examples of videos, right? And then you can be like, in this format, we want you to talk about the bike, answer these 10 questions. And if you want, you can collaborate with a physiotherapist or a runner or anyone else that you want to do. That's what I mean, like, the job of the Reese would be like, okay, I skimmed the internet. This is what's currently working. This is our content teams. This is what we want to do. This is our own twist on this. The next 10 videos is these specific questions. We want you to answer that by starting with the hook, have the title up there, and have it as a question, or whatever. And if you want to use the why framework, you could be like, go into 3 people. Is running good for your health? Yes or no? No. Yes. No. Is running actually good? And what is the alternative? Well, let's explain. And that would be more like a storytelling piece with the same framework. But ideally what you want to do, you want to do one idea 100 times, right? What does that mean? Is like, do you know this guy Anatoly who...
He picks up the weight.
Yeah. So there's this guy who goes, he pretends like he's like a janitor and he looks quite slim, but then he picks up the stuff that is so difficult for bodybuilders. That's the only thing he does, right? It works, and what do people care about? New reactions. So if you can find something that can be a new reaction all the time, that's pretty much what is great. There's a lot of people that do street interviews and they only ask one question. Like there's this guy, Simon Squid, maybe know him. He's like, what's your dream? It's always what's your dream. And I'm gonna give you money if you tell me what's your dream. Yeah. So like, if you can turn this into a challenge or a reaction, that the only variable that changes is people, then you have a content machine. But a good start could be, we're going to try educational content, as many as possible. Then we can challenge this versus this, and always relate back what the core pain point is.
Okay, cool.
Educational content is an easy, good place to start.
Yeah.
And you have like, you can do 10 videos within like literally one afternoon, if you would want to. Now it's the question probably for you how to charge the client for that. Or
Work on retainer, but yeah, the question is sort of, I like the idea of making this as testing and then filming the ones that work in a more highly produced way.
Exactly.
So we would approach the client for a budget for both parts, phase 1, phase 2.
Right. And then you can clearly say, look, when we test, we're also going to improve your ads. If this works organically, it's already proven. Now you can boost things that already work instead of trying out from new, which means we're going to save you, I don't know, depending on how much you're spending. But if we can improve the click-through rate by a couple of %, you might actually save multiple of thousands of dollars, which justifies you testing that as a like selling point. Yes, and you can approach multiple platforms and say, look, the content that we do on TikTok is discovery, But when we post it on YouTube, we actually make sure that the titles are searchable. So every time somebody thinks about buying one or has a problem, they will discover us because we're talking about it. So long term, yeah. So now the last step would be the format, right? So like, obviously this can go on for like the next 10 hours. We could have 100 ideas, but I want you to understand the framework. And maybe it's worth it to go to find one format and actually turn that into like a scripted video. And then we have pretty much from beginning to the end one result. Right?
How many formats do you typically go through over the
I usually try to get at least like 10 videos within, or like 5 to 10 videos within one format. So when for example, I'm like, I really want to try educational content, I wouldn't do just one video and be like, well, it didn't work. So I would do like 10 videos, and within those 10 videos, I would be like, which one worked, which one didn't. And then I would improve the ones that didn't work and double down on the ones that work. If nothing works at all, again, you go into the analytics and you look what didn't work. Was it the retention or was it the story, right? Yeah. And by the way, not everything works. Yeah. It's going to be a discovery. But I don't know, even if I would go on YouTube and I would put stationary bike, I'm curious. Okay, so there's a lot of like benefits of stuff that raise awareness. How long to ride an exercise bar for weight loss and muscle gain? Okay. And why not even maybe to put, so there's a lot of people that already use, is this the only bike that is standing? Do they exist actually, or is it like a patent?
This is a brand new product. Yeah.
So that's actually not available in the market, that there's a lot of bikes that are standing. So what you could do is maybe also just for people that use stationary bikes to have different workouts.
Like a workout series.
Exactly. Like different modes of how you can use it. So again, it's about existing customers content, connection content, like consideration content, and then content that is about discovery and like educational. But if somebody already uses that bike in the gym, gyms could also be actually, could gyms be customers for you?
Yeah, it's just, there's a lot of adjustment on the seats. So that's a tricky part for gyms because everybody is a different size. So there's like 12 different ways to adjust height, the handlebars.
It's something the founder is exploring right now. They are in contact with the gym there, but they're figuring out if it's a potential client that is in the process.
And this is where I said to you, if you like do a hidden camera style, put it in the gym and see what people say about it. That is also leading back to your goal of proof of concept for venture capitalists or selling it B2B. Because that would be like you getting testimonials for free while producing content and proving that people love it, right? And you could have just one person standing there from the brand and like helping people adjust, and they're like, oh, that's interesting. And then
and film all those reactions.
Exactly. So that would be an example of like, or it's being in the gym and walking up to people, hey, have you ever tried stationary bike but not seated but standing? Like, what do you mean? Let's go, or whatever. Or asking big dudes that have like big muscles to spend like 10 minutes if they can manage it, if there's like any difficulties or whatever. So a lot of stuff here that would lead back to our business goals. Yes. So if we say, we're gonna go into the educational pillar, right? And we do format. Then we would usually start with hook, right? Then usually maybe either it's a list or it's a problem. Yeah.
The format one is the execution. So go to the right.
Ah, you have it there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
So, yeah.
Well, this is obviously.
Is this for another client? Delete all of that.
Yeah. Do you actually? Yeah. You can just remove that. But here is the step, right? You have concept definition, one-liner, audience call out, angle insight, platforms. But let's say we'd go with a educational content. That is one. Why don't we? Have you ever done research on this bike in terms of health benefits?
Yeah, to do a really comprehensive research is too expensive. But
I mean, yeah.
The premise is that you can burn more calories in a shorter amount of time standing than sitting.
Oh.
The assumption, but there has not been enough research to claim that, so we're not claiming that.
They've done research, but it's always none of it is official.
Got
so
it.
It's not like.
So if that is the
in.
preface, why don't you do a video that is exactly that, which is asking the question: do you burn more fat on a stationary bike seated or standing? I'll do the challenge. I have this bike here